Hey y'all, happy Friday. We have made it through another week of 5th grade. After today, there are only 3 more Fridays left of our 5th grade year together. Now there are 4 more Mondays because our last day of school together is on a Tuesday. So there are 4 more Mondays, but only 3 more Fridays after today. I'm so excited you're here joining us today. We are going to continue talking about the coordinate plane. Now, I know that we are not spending a whole lot of time on this topic, but I know you'll be in really good hands next year when Ms. Peak or Ms. Vandigetti expand on the concepts of the coordinate plane. So you'll be all set to go with them, and we'll have a great foundation. So dive into your notes. We'll get started. How it's going to work today is we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the coordinate plane, looking at points on the coordinate plane, taking a few notes, and then I'm going to send you into IXL to practice 2 different skills with the coordinate plane. Plotting different points and figuring out distance. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to hit this button right here. Oh, look at that. I got the right one. And on here, we see what looks like a map, which is super cool. But it's really a coordinate plane. We have our horizontal axis over here, our horizontal number line. And then we have our vertical axis or our vertical number line on the left side. Now, on our map, we have 5 different points. We have Goodlettsville Middle School. We have Mr. Spencer's house. We have Emily's house. We have Ishmael's house. And then we have the store. So, we're going to start with a few things that you're going to want to write down in your math notebook. We are talking about the coordinate plane, so anything I put over here under our hidden notes as they become revealed, you're going to want to write down. Now, we talked this week about how we always move left or right first and then up and down. So as we move left or right first, we go left to right. We have a name for that. That is our x coordinate. X, the letter X, so anything going across left to right is going to be our X coordinate. Now, coordinate is just the 2 numbers that we're going to put together to identify one point. Now, we have 2 numbers because on a number line, we were in 1 dimension. So you just had 1 number for each point. If 0 was over here, and let's say 6 was right here, that would just be the point 6. But now that we're going in 2 directions, we need 2 numbers. So how far left to right? And then how far up and down. So we call our left to right number our x coordinate. And then our up and down number is our y coordinate. We put them together just like this, and we call it an ordered pair. It's called an ordered pair. It does go in order every time. X always comes first, y always comes second, and there is a comma between the x and between the y. So make sure you've got this down. This is going to help us. Minimal notes today, not a lot of notes, but a lot to think about, a lot to remember, jam-packed in here. Now our x is how far left or right we go. Our x, that first number, is how far left or right we go. So if we had a 4 there, we would always start at 0, and then we would move right 4. Remember, we're only moving right in 5th grade. In 6th grade, we'll move left, and that'll get us into some negative numbers. But we always start at 0, and then we'll move right. And then our y is just how far up or down. And remember, in 5th grade, we're only going up, up, up. Can only go up this year. So, if we had 4, 6, we would go over 4, and then up 6. Now you can tell we've already labeled these points of the different things. Ishmael's house is at the point 4, 13. So we went right 4 and then up 13 to get there. Goodlettsville Middle School is at the point 4, 2. So we went right 4 spots and then up 2. Mr. Spencer's house at 10, 2. Again, we went right 10 and then up 2. Emily's house at 10, 9. So we went over 10. Up 9, and then the store was 7, 9. We went over 7 and up 9. We went right 7 and then up 9. You do not, I should have said this earlier, I'm so sorry, you do not need to draw anything on a coordinate plane. The coordinate plane is something super, super tough to draw because everything has to be so straight and there's so many lines. So we're just going to use mine as an example today. We're only writing down what is over here on the side. And then it is super important for us to remember this. Oh, but we're not going to get there yet. We're not, oops. So when we find the distance that something is, we're finding the line between one point and another point because the shortest distance is always a line. So think of the distance between Ishmael's house and Gillis Hill Middle School as a line. Now, we want to say, hey, how far is it? And when we say how far, we're asking about distance. Now, this is going to be super important for 6th grade. Distance is always a positive number. You cannot have negative distance. But all of our distances are always going to be positive. So we're going to start at Ishmael's house, and we're going to go to school. So as we move along Ishmael's house, we're going to go, Ishmael's house, which is 0, and then we'll count each intersection here. So each time the lines cross. So I'm going to pull out a pen here. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, and guess what? That's right. Ishmael's house is 11 units from Gillisville Middle School. Now with distance, we also always want to have a unit, so feet or miles, or if there's not something specified, we'll just say units. Okay, now I want to ask us, how far is Mr. Spencer's house from Emily's house? I'm going to start at Mr. Spencer's house. I'm just going to count those intersections where the lines combine. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 lines between Mr. Spencer's house and Emily's house. So we would say Emily's house is 7 units from Mr. Spencer's house. All right. Something you're probably also noticing is when we have our points here, Emily's house is 10, 9, and Mr. Spencer's house is 10, 2. We said that Emily's house was 7 units from Mr. Spencer's house. What if we subtract 9 minus 2? Subtract our y coordinates. 9 minus 2 is also 7. Interesting. Let's try that with Ishmael's house and Billettsville Middle. 13 minus 2 is 11. We said that Ishmael's house was 11 units from Gillisville Middle School. It's very interesting. Now I want you to try finding the distance from Gillisville Middle to Mr. Spencer's house. How far do I have to go to get to school every day? So hopefully you either counted those lines or you did 10 minus 4 because those two numbers were different. This time we were subtracting our x coordinates, that first number, and 10 minus 4, or the number of lines there, is 6. So Mr. Spencer's house is 6 units from Mr. Spencer. Now, I want you to write this down just so when you're looking at a super challenging problem, you can remember that, hey, this is not something that I need to do. We only find distance in 5th grade when both points have one number the same. So Mr. Spencer's house and Gillisville Middle both had the same y coordinate, the 2. Mr. Spencer's house and Emily's house both had the same x coordinate, the 10. Same with Ishmael and Gillisville Middle, they had the same first number, the x coordinate. So I want to ask you now, how far is it from Gillisville Middle to the store? Well, we can't answer that. That is not something we are going to answer this year. You'll work on that next year in 6th grade, where you have these diagonal lines. Because you'll notice, hey, this line here doesn't cross The length, sorry, this line doesn't follow the lines of our coordinate planes. So that means we don't have a way to measure it. But I'm going to save that for 6th grade. I can't have all the fun. All right. So that does it for today with our little mini lesson on the coordinate plane. I do want to tell you that starting on Monday, we're going to talk about shapes. Now, you can probably identify a good number of shapes, but we're going to talk about different kinds of quadrilaterals, that shapes with 4 sides, as well as talk about the pentagon that has 5 sides. But for the rest of our time today, I would like you to spend 35 to 45 minutes practicing these 2 skills on IXL. So work under, this is level G. Work on T2 and T7. So set a timer, work for 35 to 45 minutes, and work on those 2 skills. It's all about labeling points on the coordinate plane or finding distance, which is just what we did with our map here. As always, if you have any questions at all, please let me know. I'd love to help you out. Other than that, y'all have an amazing weekend, and I'll see you back here next week. Let me find my mouse. Bye, y'all. Love y'all.